Hello and welcome to another Sprues and Brews unboxing. Today we are looking at Warhammer Quest Cursed City Nightwars, the first expansion to Cursed City. So first of all I want to say a massive thanks to Games Workshop for sending us a free review copy a little ahead of time to unbox it and show off on the site. This seems like it's a long time coming. Cast your minds back to last year. Warhammer Quest Cursed City came out to much fanfare and then it disappeared all of a sudden. Now obviously things must have happened behind the scenes, I don't know the ins and outs of that, and basically disappeared off the shelves for a long time, and today alongside Nightwars the core game is available again, and I do believe it is a permanent release now. And I suspect that this box was meant to come out last year alongside the Soulblight Gravelords release, due to a couple of things that we've seen in here. But obviously for whatever reason it's been delayed, but we've finally got the first expansion now. First thing to just kind of detail on this though, is that this is just the, I guess, supplemental stuff that you need to play the new Nightwars campaign line in Cursed City. So you get the rule book, all the tokens, some new tiles, and all the cards that you need, including the reference cards for the various hostiles. What you don't get in this box are the actual miniatures to play through it with though. Now, I was kind of hoping that this was going to be a big box including the models, priced at, I don't know, £60–70 including the miniatures. It seems like they've got a different tack on this one. So the Fellbats and Radukar the Beast can show up at any point during your campaign, and then like with the previous Cursed City campaign, there's various kind of named vampires that you're trying to do hunts against, represented by the 3 other vampire models in the Soulblight's Gravelord range. So in order to use this box to kind of full effect, you're going to need to pick up those models. Now the way that it's put together, you could get away with picking up the Fellbats, pick up Radukar the Beast, and then the first vampire that you want to face, and then once you've played through that arc of the campaign, you can then pick up the next vampire. So it's not a requirement to pick this all up at the same time, but it is something to be aware of if you are picking up this game. It hasn't got any miniatures in it. So I know that'll be a shame to some people. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it? I suspect the logic was a lot of Soulblight Gravelords players probably picked up Cursed City, and they would probably have the miniatures for their Gravelords armies, and then could use them in Cursed City without having to buy a big box without all the miniatures in. However, the downside is obviously the cost of all those miniatures together plus this box is, I suspect, slightly higher than the core box for Cursed City. So obviously there's pros and cons, and if you've already got a Soulblight Gravelord army, then awesome. This box is £30 and lets you carry on the campaign, and it is a full campaign that is comparable to the one in Cursed City. But yeah, just think that's the kind of elephant in the room. Just thought I need to call it out at the start of this review. It doesn't have any miniatures in it, so your mileage may vary depending on how many of these got. I'm quite fortunate that I've got a Soulblight Gravelords army, so I've got all these miniatures anyway, so happy days, I can crack on with the campaign. But if you're not, just so you're aware they're not in there. So what we're going to do in this video is crack this open, have a look at all the components, have a look through the campaign, and see what the future of Warhammer Quest looks like. I suspect this is the first supplement of potentially a couple. I don't know if they're going to be in this format with just a box with the components in, or there'll be any miniature releases. I'm not sure. But yeah, what we'll do is open this up and have a look what's inside. So if we slide out all the components in here, we have got, pop that to one side, the quest book, which we'll have a look at in a bit more detail in a bit. We've got a sheet of card components, so just like the ones in the main Cursed City box, you've got a couple of tiles to add some variety to your layouts, and then the various tokens that you need for playing through the new campaign. So that's all cool. Again, thick, high quality card stock for those, so that's nice. Those to one side. And then the rest of the box is pretty much all the cards and supplemental stuff, so we'll quickly open this up and have a look what we get. So Again, I don't want to delve into spoilers in this video. So some of the secret stuff, like you get some sealed vampiric power envelopes and stuff, so I'm not going to open those up. Along with the level 2 ones. So if we pop those over there. So we get some new discovery cards to expand on the ones within the main book. Again, add some more variety of games. Now the game does show that you can mix these in with the standard deck if you've not finished playing through the kind of the main Cursed City campaign. These are designed to be used in the Nightwars campaign, but obviously there's nothing to stop you mixing those into your existing ones to make things kind of a bit fresh for you. Now, what I will say is that this quest line, the Nightwars campaign, is designed to be played after the main campaign. So once you've beaten all the vampires and Radukar the Wolf in the original Cursed City, and once you've got all your guys up to max level, that's when this campaign kicks in. And like I say, it's not like a filler expansion like some of the other ones that we had for Blackstone Fortress, for example, where it was like a single encounter. This is a full campaign comparable really to the Cursed City one. You get the vampire abilities, so obviously some of them are sealed so you don't know what they get, but you do get basically the vampires get stronger as you go through the campaign, so you get a number of different cards that represent different abilities that they get. We get some new empowerment cards as well, again expanded on the stuff that's in the core box. We get encounter cards for everyone in the box. We also get some new class trait things. So think I guess class trees in World of Warcraft or something. We'll see as we go through the quest book in a little while, but essentially once you're max level, you can then choose to go into a various lore. So for Lore Master we've got Scholar or Oracle. For Executioner we've got Shadow Stalker or Reaper. Stalwart we've got Maximal and Primus. Blade we've got Warlord and Blade Master. And basically these give you, you'll see on there, different abilities that you can choose to kind of spec into. Once you've made the decision of which tree that you're following, you're kind of locked into it. But it's a nice little addition that kind of adds some extra levels to your character basically, and also gives you a bit of variety in your playthrough as well. So with there being, you know, a wide selection of different builds, you can have it varied across your entire party. We'll have a quick look at the actual characters in there as well. Like with the core game, you've got a standard side and an empowered side, and these are the various kind of like named vampires that you're trying to kill within the Nightwars quest. So that's pretty cool that there's cards for all those. You then get Radukar the Beast, who is kind of he's not his usual self. He's a bit more wild and savage, and rather than being like the big end boss, he's now kind of hounding the adventurers throughout the Nightwars quest. So this guy can pop up during the campaign itself at random points, so he's quite cool. Think of him as like, I don't know, in Resident Evil and games like that, where the big baddie kind of comes and hunts you down. So that's pretty cool. You'll notice he's got a lot of wounds. He's got the giant category, which we'll look at in a little bit as well. And then we also get Fellbats too. Again, a new monster sheet for them. Again, so really, if you're starting this out, you probably want to get those two, and then pick up whichever one of the 3 vampires you want to follow through for the quest. And you can always pick up the other vampires once you've kind of done that quest line. So we'll move that out of the way. You get a little tracker like you do in the original game as well, to track the doom and victory points, and if you've dealt with the various vampires, and they get stronger based on which ones you've killed. So what we're going to do is have a look through the quest book and see what is new in Cursed City Nightwars. So we get a bit of background about it. It kind of does reiterate that this is a continuation of the storyline from the original Cursed City. So you're going to want to have completed the main game first. You could always try it, but you'll probably get battered if you try to jump into it without a full level 5 party. So that's something to be aware of, because the difficulty ramps up from here. We saw it in the original Cursed City that the first couple of levels it's quite easy, but then things do start to ramp up later on, and this is kind of a continuation of that. Again, there was lots of speculation over whether this was originally meant to be boxed with these. All the printed stuff is dated 2021, so I suspect it was meant to come out last year around about the time of the Gravelord's release. It does reference here that, you know, you have to pick up these miniatures separately. Now, if you just, I don't know, starting out with this, there's nothing against maybe using tokens or kind of proxies until you've picked up the models and painted them. Like I say, if you are doing it, probably pick up the Fellbats and Radukar first and one of the vampires, and then you can always pick up the other ones later on. I was kind of surprised that they didn't do a bundle box containing all these to support this box. Obviously the Gravelord's release has been out for, well, a year now really, so I'm a little surprised they didn't bundle all these up together for people who are maybe just playing Cursed City. But yeah, that's I guess a lot of people have already talked about that, and I do worry that will deter people, the fact that you need to pick up considerably, I guess, expensive miniatures to support the main board game. It'd been quite nice to have seen that all boxed together. Again, it does go both ways. People who've got a Gravelord's army have already got those miniatures, in which case, cool. You've got a nice £30 expansion. You're talking £100 plus if you haven't got the miniatures though, unfortunately. We get a bit of a story of what's happened to Radukar since the events of the first Cursed City, and the 3 new vampires that have kind of come into the city and taken over from him while he's running wild. And basically the adventurers are forced to come in and deal with this. Things have unfortunately got worse rather than better after the events of Cursed City, so nice to see what's happened there. We then kind of get the new Nightwars quest. Very similar to how it worked in the original one. You've got 3 big boss vampires. You pick which one you're going after. You complete that quest chain. There'll be some bespoke missions where you face off against that vampire. You tick them off your list, and then you face the next one. But the other vampires will get stronger each one that you do. So that's kind of why the vampire cards are hidden, because you don't know, I guess you don't know which one's going to be the hardest one to fight last. Obviously if you've played it once you probably know, but I think going into it blind's probably quite good, because you're going to make some important decisions on which order you take out those vampires. So there's a couple of new rules in here as well. There's huge hostiles and giant hostiles. Basically they're hostiles that take up multiple squares on the board, and all the rules for moving those. So the Rat Prince, for example, takes up 2 spaces, where Radukar's quite a bit bigger and he takes up like 4 spaces, and it's just how all that kind of stuff interacts with that. So yeah. We also get some new extraction events in there. We get the new elite classes that we mentioned earlier that you can spec into, and basically you kind of gain those as your level 6 ability essentially. There's also a new kind of mechanic in the game as well, where there's Haven, which is kind of like the friendly town that you can visit between missions. Again, based on how many vampires that you've killed, more shops and places open up that you can go and visit during your quest. So that's quite cool. It kind of leans more into the role-playing element, so you can go and explore, you can meet people, you can have some different encounters and stuff. I guess similar to the stuff that happened on the ship in Blackstone Fortress, so that's a nice addition. You also get the ability to essentially sell your old gear as well. Obviously with there being some new stuff in this set with new cards and stuff, what you can do is sell your old stuff. You get half the Realm Stone value for it, and then you can use that to buy new gear, so that's quite a cool addition to it. So yeah, then we get new maps for all of the missions. So you get 4 Purge maps, and you get 4 Sabotage maps. So that gives you quite a few different maps to add to the assortment that we've already got in the core game. We then get the kind of boss missions, which start us off with Haven being attacked by the named vampire and then you going into their lair to kill them. So again, similar to what you get in the core game, but with different maps and different encounters. Some of them are quite lethal as well. So if we jump forward to... we'll jump back in a second. So each of the vampires has got different things that happen based on which vampire you're fighting. So one of them, you start off with everybody poisoned, for example, and there's wells that you've got to deal with that are unfortunately poisoned you've got to try and stop. So some fun little mechanics there. And again, you get a mixture of those. So they're kind of like your end boss ones. We get a massive chart of new crises as well. So you've got a kind of A, B and C, and then a chart to roll for each of them, which gives you a nice little chunk of your different crisis events, which I always thought was a really nice element of the original Cursed City. I thought that was quite fun. So yeah, so we get new ones of those, we get the new missions itself. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, so apologies for flicking through this quite quickly, because I think it's one of those games that really you want to play through, you know, quite blind to get the full experience of it. And then, like with the first game, once you've dealt with the three little vampires, you've then got the kind of big boss game at the end, where you're taking on all three vampires and their night guard. So that's really cool. Again, it's interesting that Radukar the Beast isn't... I thought he'd be the end boss, but he's more like an antagonist that kind of attacks the party throughout the entire path of the storyline. So that's quite interesting. Now, again, without going into spoilers too much as well, when you finish the quest, it kind of implies that the story will continue. So I suspect there'll be at least one more expansion. So yeah, so bang for buck, really, for £30 you are getting a massive campaign. It's, you know, I was a bit concerned this would be like a one-off campaign for that price, and it'd be the equivalent of, like, you know, a third of Cursed City. It is a big chunky campaign, so that's really, really good from a gameplay point of view. You've got as much to play through as the original game. I guess from a value point of view, it really does depend if you've got those existing miniatures to use in here. Like I say, I'm quite lucky where I've got a Gravelord's army, so I've got all these miniatures anyway. If you're just into playing board games, it does put the cost quite higher if you're going to buy all those models. Now, again, playing through the various vampires are going to take a while, so you can start with just picking one up and picking up the other two separately. But I do wonder if it's a bit of a missed opportunity not bundling those other models in with the box. That's really my only criticism, because it is a really cool game. There could be an argument that if the models were bundled in, existing Gravelord players or existing collectors who already got those models wouldn't want to pick up this box, but I don't know, I don't think that's necessarily the case. You could have a Gravelord's army and paint up the vampires out of this in a different style to match your Cursed City set, for example. Obviously, I don't know the details for that. Obviously with Blackstone Fortress they were all bundled with miniatures, and I do think that's personally a better approach, but I do see the argument of a lot of people have already got those miniatures, so having a slightly lower price point allows you to pick up this without having to drop, you know, £60-70 just for the rules, but then equally you've got to pay more than that to get all the miniatures. So a little bit torn on this one. It is really, really cool. I'm looking forward to playing through it. The missions look really, really cool. I like the fact that you can kind of spec your characters into different builds as well. I think that's really, really fun. Adds a bit of a more of a role-playing game element to it. Again, having a load more encounters and all the different stuff that you can do in town between missions as well. I think that's a really good thing that they've added. So yeah, if you've got the models, go for it. Brilliant. It's a relatively cheap way of, I guess, doubling really the play you've got from the original Cursed City box. If you haven't got the models, then I'd still recommend it. You could always proxy with stuff until you've picked up the models, and I think the best approach would be just pick up the models kind of gradually as you need them over the course of the campaign. The Fellbats and Radukar the Beast you are going to need from the off. Thankfully, a lot of third-party stores have them, you know, a little bit cheaper now, so that's good. And you never know, we might get a bundle box or You know, Element and places might do some bundle deals of the various vampires that you need. So you certainly don't need to drop, you know, everything for all of the vampires in one go. I think the fact that it's going to take you a couple of play sessions to get to each vampire means that over a couple of months you could slowly build up the miniatures that you need for this. And you know what, if you've got Cursed City and you pick up these miniatures anyway, that's a good start of the Soulblight Gravelord's army too. So from a kind of Age of Sigmar adjacent point of view, that's pretty good. But yeah, this one, my recommendation very much depends on A, if you're a hardcore Cursed City fan, you'll want it anyway. If you're an existing Gravelords fan, you've probably got the models already. If you're a casual Cursed City fan and you want to expand your mission, you know, you can always pick up this box and slowly pick up those other miniatures afterwards. But being a little bit more cautious than normal with the kind of, I guess, the knowledge that if you want the full experience, you are going to have to drop over £100 on miniatures to play through the entire story. So I guess it really depends on your circumstances on this one. It is really, really good. I just wish it had been bundled with the miniatures. So yeah, so that's our look at Cursed City Nightwars. It is up for pre-order today. It is out next Saturday. If you are interested in Nightwars and want to support the site, we do have an affiliate link for Element Games where you get about 20% off Games Workshop products. So that's a good option to pick up some of the models in this, slightly cheaper than RRP as well. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you think of this. Would you rather a slightly cheaper, all the rules and cards kind of release? Or would you rather have everything bundled together in one big box, even if it means that some people are maybe doubling up from a miniatures point of view? But the key bit, you get a saving on the included miniatures. I'd love to know what people think on that, because there are arguments for and against, and I think Games Workshop have maybe tried for the approach of people who've already got the miniatures, so let's have it at a lower price point where they don't need to get them. So yeah, let us know what you think. But yeah, until next time, have a great weekend and we'll see you soon.